Hello, everybody. It's Jennifer Schaus coming to you live from Washington, D.C. Excuse me, and we are continuing in our 2019 webinar series. Today, we've added some extra webinars because we did not cover any last week. And as a reminder, all of our webinars are complimentary. They're recorded. You can find those on our website and on our YouTube channel. We've got I believe almost 200 webinars on our YouTube channel, and on our website they're all segmented by the topic, so they should be fairly easy to find. We'll send these out towards the end of the week as far as the recording and the slides. We do offer advertising in our newsletter, which reaches about 17,000 government and government contractor subscribers. You can contact my colleague Mallory Flowers, and she can help you out with what we have available for the rest of the year and some pricing discounts. A little bit about us. We do provide professional services for government contractors. First and foremost, the GSA schedule services, some certification help, and other services for contractors to help them excel in the federal space. This obviously includes everything you see here on your screen, the proposal writing, pricing, contract administration and compliance, as well as business development and sales. We have a class coming up August 6th. This will be local to the Washington, D.C. area, and it's an introduction to GSA schedules. We do this every year in partnership with the Virginia SBDC, which is the Small Business Development Center. SBDCs are located throughout the country near most major cities. If you Google for SBDCs, you can find one close to you. We also have them listed by location on our website under the resources section. That should give you some links to the SBDCs and other entities that provide government contracting training and mentorship and just general assistance. This slide here covers my background, but more importantly, let's talk about GSA schedule best practices for post-award. So you've submitted your compliant proposal to GSA, and you've got the award, and this is the next minute afterwards, basically what happens and what you need to do. But before we do that, I want to talk about just some basics. So for anyone that was not on the previous webinar, or if somebody's just on YouTube and happens to click on this without any prior knowledge, let's just talk about GSA briefly. It is one of many, many, many contract vehicles that are available to the government as an option for them to purchase from you. They can use full and open competition, meaning that they put something out on FedBizOpps and everybody and anybody can see it, and anybody and everybody can reply to it. They can use simplified acquisitions. They can use set-asides. They can use sole source. They can use other transaction authorities. There's a multitude of ways that the government can purchase. So the GSA schedule is not required at all, and it is only a marketing tool. It is primarily based on your lowest prices, meaning that you need to offer GSA a rate that is lower than your best price, but also comparable to other companies on the schedule that provide a similar product or service. It's a 20-year contract. It actually starts out as a 5-year contract. If you meet all the requirements, you'll get renewed for another 5 years, and that will happen 3 times. So initially a 5-year contract with 3 5-year renewable periods comes out to 20 years. At the end of the 20 years, you can certainly reapply and get back on. Okay, we talked about the lowest price, and the way you can ensure that your prices are the lowest is by looking at the calc.gsa.gov site. That's for professional services companies, and you could type in your job title, whether it's web programmer, systems engineer, HVAC consultant, minimum experience, minimum education, and you will get average GSA rates. If you're selling products, you will go to the GSAadvantage.gov site, type in the product, and look at who else out there is providing those same products. Most of the schedule holders, more than half, have 0 sales through their schedule. Doesn't mean that they're unsuccessful federal contractor. They may have a couple $1 million with the government, but not going through the schedule. So you want to make sure that you've got customers lined up and in your pipeline to ensure that you're going to meet that $25,000 annual sales quota that we've got listed there. That is $25,000 per year. The first year is a grace period, so it's $25K the first 2 years, $25K every year thereafter. If you don't meet that, GSA will cancel your schedule. So make sure, again, that you've got a full pipeline of customers that want to buy from you. Your rates on GSA are a price ceiling. You're probably going to bid lower than whatever your price is for your product or your service. And the schedules are an open and rolling RFP, so that solicitation is going to change. It has a heartbeat. It's a living, breathing entity. You want to make sure you stay abreast of any changes that are happening within the schedule. And that holds true, obviously, more so for, well, I'd say equally for pre-award, but also post-award, because, if you need to make a modification and now they're requiring your mother's maiden name and the last four of your social security number, you need to make sure that you submit that with your modification. Okay, so best practices post-award. This is the moment that you got the letter from GSA that says, here is your schedule number. It's the SF 1449, if I'm not mistaken. So you want to make sure that the authorized price list that will go onto GSA Advantage, that has your terms and conditions and everything else, matches the FPR. The FPR is your final proposal revision. And you went through that towards the end of the negotiations with GSA, negotiations for the pricing. So at the end of the pricing, GSA will send the final proposal revision letter, FPR, and that will basically recap everything that you agreed to with GSA regarding your pricing, regarding prompt payment discounts and volume discounts and everything else. So make sure that your price list mirrors that exactly. And that the pricing that you show on this authorized price list includes just your GSA rates with IFF. You don't need to show your commercial rates or anything else. You just that final GSA price that the GSA customers will pay. Then you'll download a very archaic program called SIP. SIP is Schedule Input Program. It's about as user-friendly as perhaps Atari from the 1980s. It's a very manual process as far as inputting your information in there, registering your contract. You'll then receive a password, and then uploading your pricing information into that. And that pricing information, once it gets approved, goes onto the GSA Advantage website. You will then register on the GSA eBuy site. That will give you the RFP notifications just for your SIN number. So if you're on Schedule 70, Schedule 84, whatever schedule it is, whatever SIN number you've been awarded or SIN numbers you've been awarded, by registering on GSA eBuy, you'll start getting RFPs, RFQs related again to your SIN. So it means a government buyer says, hey, I want to purchase through the schedule, and I want to survey and see if I can get one of these vendors to sell me whatever it is they're looking for, a widget or whatever services you offer. Those usually have a pretty quick turnaround time. So I would suggest having multiple people within your company. If you have a proposal writing team, sales and business development team, more specifically federal sales and business development team, and perhaps even just a C-level exec. A lot of times these are just going to be RFPs that you're going to delete. Sometimes they're not going to be applicable, but it is just a good system to, or a good practice to have multiple people internally. You want to make sure that you're also registered to pay GSA their industrial funding fee payments. That's either going to be through the 72A system, which is being sunset, or may actually have, and most schedules now have been moved over to TDR, which is transactional data reporting. This is where you pay GSA only on your GSA schedule sales, 0.75%. So if you have zero sales, then you pay them nothing through your schedule. If you have $1 million through your schedule, then you'll pay GSA 0.75% through that system. As far as your accounting system, you want to ensure that you are able to decipher your GSA versus your non-GSA items. And if your entire price list and your entire offering is available both commercially as well as through GSA, you probably want to have some sort of coding so that if somebody is just, whether it's one product or two or three labor categories that somebody is ordering from you, you want to make sure that you note that, hey, this is the price that we gave, and this was, in fact, a GSA schedule order. So, and you'll know that the government customer will reference that GSA schedule as the contract vehicle used. If you have any prompt payment discounts that you offer, any quantity or volume discounts, those need to go not only on the invoice, but preferably on the quote, should there have been a quote involved. And then the note that I have here at the bottom here with invoices, GSA versus non-GSA items, a lot of times in the audits or the customer assisted visit, CAV, as GSA calls these visits, which are actually really more online these days. We've had some customers in the past that maybe have sold widget A, which is not a GSA schedule item, and they also sold widget B, which is a GSA schedule item, and then a couple other things which may or may not be GSA. And so you can have one invoice that has a few GSA items and a couple non-GSA items. You just need to make sure that on the invoice and on the quote sheet that you decipher between which is which. And that will affect your industrial funding fee payment, that 0.75%, because you're only going to pay that IFF fee on the GSA schedule items. So if you want to put a G and G dash in front of all of your items that are GSA schedule and have the appropriate price on those, then do that. Or just some sort of additional quality control process and in place for invoicing to make sure that when you do invoice that you're using the right price, that you're not going above your GSA rates, and not violating any of the compliance that's associated with GSA schedules. For reporting and mods, again, you want to really make sure that you're pretty tight on the IFF reports. The SF standard form 30s, SF 30s, sometimes GSA will initiate modifications. That's typically at the solicitation, which again has a heartbeat as an open and rolling RFP goes through some changes. There's going to be new clauses that you'll need to accept or things that are being removed simply based on GSA policies. So you can get those on the, you can check to make sure that you're current on the VSC Vendor Support Center. So vsc.gsa.gov, you'll type in your GSA schedule number, and it'll give you each of the mod numbers that GSA has initiated, mod meaning modification. It'll have the date that it's due and whether you've accepted it or not. If you've got anything that's not accepted, you want to make sure that you go on there and accept those. How do you accept those? GSA will send an email to you. It'll have a PIN number on it. You'll go through a couple screens on the Vendor Support Center to input that data. And again, save those forms once you complete those, just for your own peace of mind and compliance and processes. Then we have the vendor-initiated mods. This is going to be if you are increasing your pricing, adding a SIN, adding a labor category, adding a product, changing a description. Maybe somebody came in and purchased your company, so now you've got a novation agreement, or your business address change, or you were a small business but now you're a large business, or you were a woman-owned business and now you're a service-disabled veteran-owned business. Any of these are vendor-initiated mods. For some of the ones that I mentioned, business size, novation agreement, if it was a merger or acquisition, if you go from a small to a large, those will first be changed in SAM.gov, the System for Award Management, and then you'll make a follow-on mod to GSA. If it's something more technical, like increasing your prices, adding a SIN number, deleting an item, anything along those lines, you do it through the eoffer.gsa.gov system, and you'll select the middle option, which is e-mods for modification. You also want to make sure that you've got at least 2, preferably 3 full-time employees that have digital certificates, and make sure those certificates are current. Again, we've seen scenarios where you've got somebody in the company who suddenly leaves and they were the only person with a digital certificate, and now nobody can get in to either ensure the contract is compliant to accept these modifications, or you've got a pending mod, or suddenly your renewal information is due, or something along these lines. Make sure that you've got backups as far as people and just backups of the actual digital certificate. So again, you've got your award, marketing, sales, and business development. Well, the schedule is really your marketing, sales, and business development. So you should have had a pipeline full of opportunities that encourage you then to get this schedule. But let's say you're suddenly being reactive and not proactive. So you're a little behind the 8 ball. So you want to make sure that you take that GSA logo, and you're allowed to do this, and make sure that you put this on your website. You know, ABC company has recently been awarded a GSA schedule. You put the logo there. When the person on your website clicks on the logo, it should take them to the GSA Advantage website, which then has your pricing catalog and all of your information. Again, how do you get onto GSA Advantage? Through that SIP schedule input program that's as user-friendly as Atari. That's a manual process that you'll need to register your contract and input your pricing, your product and service information in there. So put that logo on your website, put it on the back of your business cards with your schedule number. It should be in every employee's email auto signature, even if it's just, you know, somebody that works in, I don't know, name a department that you think would not be related. You never know who he or she is corresponding with. Again, it's just good for best practices and policies being consistent and thorough throughout. Every company should have a capability statement, so you want to add that logo to your capability statement. Any other marketing literature you have, brochures, that sort of thing. Even if they're commercial brochures, maybe you just, you know, insert a small box that says we also sell to government entities, have the GSA logo and plug it in there. You never know, sometimes some of the companies that you sell to may be also government contractors and can there bridge you in to enhance their offering. Oops, I skipped a slide here. You also, depends here, but you could consider a press release. You know, the schedule has, you know, $0 through it. Once you're awarded it, you're just really on a short list of vendors, you know, 18,000 vendors and you. So is it press release worthy? I don't know about that, but maybe once you get your first big award, ABC company has been awarded a $1 million contract with DoD through their GSA schedule. That could be more newsworthy. Again, as I mentioned several times throughout this presentation, that you should have some pipeline opportunities that were lined up and really the impetus for getting onto the schedule. So go back to those folks and say, hey, we've got the schedule now. Here's our number, and then hopefully you can continue to cultivate that relationship. Consider joint ventures, teaming, subcontracting, mentor-protege agreements with primes, large businesses, and any other GSA schedule holders. You know, everybody doesn't necessarily need to go and work with Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and Northrop Grumman and Leidos and all the others. Sometimes if you're a woman-owned business and you form a joint venture with a service-disabled veteran-owned that's in a hub zone, that can be a lot stronger and more powerful than working with the big guys. Plus, when you're trying to work with the big guys, it's you and a bazillion other small businesses trying to partner or subcontractor, mentor, protege with them. So, and you don't need to wait until you're awarded a schedule to start looking at those companies to partner with. And we're going to go through that actually at the 1 p.m. Eastern webinar today. And number 10 is just ongoing monitoring. So if you submitted your GSA schedule based on market rates, you want to make sure in your accounting system that you are that you do have kind of bells and whistles going off for the date when the new rates will take effect. If you did if your pricing was based on a commercial price list, the CPL commercial price list, then you want to make sure at the end of every 12 months that you've got a mod ready to go to increase your prices, and that you do take advantage of that. For product companies, the Trade Agreement Act and Ability One, sometimes countries get put on or bumped off of that TAA. The Ability One, again, sometimes products are added to that or taken off. So you want to make sure that you don't have any conflicts there. That should be monitored on a fairly regular monthly basis at least. And you would have had to submit some sort of documentation in your proposal regarding that. So you need to make sure that you kind of stay true to your word there on your terms and conditions of monitoring those two pieces. SAM, you want to make sure your SAM record, System Forward Management, is current. That includes your business size. You know, if you've moved, if you are, suddenly became a woman-owned or 8A company or HubZone or whatever it is, ensure that that your SAM record is accurately reflecting that, and that will populate into some other databases, but it's not going to make it over to GSA. You'll need to make a modification should any of those things change. But SAM is really where you should always begin. Maintaining just a general GSA log for your standard Form 30s, modifications, your industrial funding fees, all of your original paperwork, the pricing, the FPR, the final proposal revision letter, all of your price list, your CSPs, commercial sales practices, because when you go through renewals at the end of every 5 years, or should you come to the end of 20 years and decide that, hey, this was so great, we want to do it again, some of that paperwork can be helpful. Keep it current. This is meaning just keeping your schedule, making sure it has a heartbeat, that you are being compliant, that you do have your price list up, that you are taking advantage of having that GSA schedule, that you've got the logo everywhere and anywhere that it absolutely can be. Don't waste time on that, because the worst thing that can happen is at the end of the 2 years, when you were supposed to be out there kind of doing the business development and marketing, you are remiss, and then suddenly GSA is going to cancel your schedule. But oops, yeah, we forgot to put the GSA logo on our website, or we forgot to add a section on our website for government, or whatever it is. So make sure you take advantage of all of the marketing tools that GSA allows you to. And ensure also that your reporting and compliance is intact, as those things can also get you bumped off. So just keep that in mind, and we're also happy to assist with that. That covers it for post-award compliance. If you do have questions or need help on this topic or any other federal government contracting questions that you may have, you can certainly contact us at the phone number or email listed here. The next 2 webinars are going to cover general compliance at 1:30, and right before that, which is what we'll be doing next, is teaming and partnering with GSA schedule holders. Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.